Hey guys, today we are going to do task number 2 from lesson number 10. The topic is two-dimensional arrays. What we are going to do? Ask user to input the values of the elements of a two-dimensional array 2 by 3, 2 rows and 3 columns. Calculate an addition or a sum of the elements. And we have here two notes, two hints how to do it. Note 1, to declare an array with 2 rows and 3 columns, use the code. And we have here the declaration of our array. And we see that the array will be called R, and it will have 2 rows and 3 columns. And it will be integer array, so the numbers are integer, the elements are integer. And we have note 2, to input the values for the elements and iterate over the array, the nested loop is needed. So we have nested loop here. The one loop is inside the other loop. First loop is to iterate through the rows, and the second has to iterate through the columns. There are 3 of them, 2 rows and 3 columns. And the main thing, we have to see what we are going to have in our console window when we will run our ready program. So we are going to have all of these lines. First will be just printed line. Please enter 6 values for the matrix 2 by 3. These numbers will be entered by user. So these numbers enters user. Then we are going to print out this line, the array, and then we are going to print these elements as an array, as a matrix. And then we are going to print out the sum of these elements. If the values of these elements are the same as we have in the example, the sum will be 29. So this task we can divide it by 3 tasks. First, we are going to prompt the user to input the values for the elements. The second, we have to print out the values of these elements and print them out as in the matrix. And the third task is we have to add all of these values, and we have to print out the sum of them. So let's create our new project, console project, and let's copy the name of this project. We have it in our task as always. Menu file, new project, console application, and we have here our name. Okay. We have to put here our task as we have it inside this task. So we have to put the comments, and we need to paste the task here. It can be some lines to see them all, to see all the lines, and to close the comments we have to use this star and slash sign. Okay, so first we are going to do, we have to declare our array. When we have the array, we always have to declare it. So we need to put 2 and 3, 2 rows and 3 columns. So let's declare it. We know that it will be integer array, and we are going to put here int because integer array. Then to say that it will be the two-dimensional array, we need to use square brackets with comma. Comma means that it will be some rows and some columns. Then we have to use the name to the identifier of our array, and we have here the name error. We can use this name or we can use another name, it doesn't matter. So let's do it as it is in the task, array error, and then we are going to put the new keyword because we have to allocate the memory for our array. New int, again we said that it will be integer, and now we have to put how many columns will be, how many rows first. First is 4 rows, 2 rows, and 3 columns we have for our array. 2 rows and 3 columns. Like here, like in the task, and we see it in our example, 2 rows, 1, 2, and 3 columns, 1, 2, 3 columns. So each row has 3 columns. Okay, what we are going to do next, we are going to ask the user to input the values for this array, to input them. Usually we use console read line, and of course we can do it like this. We have to read, to input all of these values. So there will be 2 multiplied by 3 values. So it will be 6 values. We are going to read 6 values. Of course we can do it like this. We can just err 0, 0. What does it mean? That it will be the first element of our array. This one, this 2, the first element of our array, and we need to read it. So console dot read line, and we need to parse it because the read line has a string value. So we need int 32 dot parse and this read line statement. We have read only first value of the first element. Then there will be 0, 1, 0, 2, and 1 and 0, 1 and 1, 1 and 2. So if we are going to do this way, we have to put all of these six lines. But nobody does this way. No programmer will do this way because we need to do it 6 times. It is better to use the loops to do it. To iterate over the 6 of our elements, we need to use nested loop. So we don't need to use these lines. We have to use for loop. The outer loop will iterate our rows. Int I equals to 0 because the indexes of the array starts with 0, and while I is less than 2 because we have 2 rows, and we have to increase the counter of the loop. Okay, we iterate these rows and we need to iterate the columns the same way. The loop for we need int, but always we have to use some other variable, some other name of the variable. Let's use j equals to 0, of course, again, and j less than what? Less than 3, because we have 3 columns. Okay, and also we have to increase our counter for our loop. Here we have the body of the loop. Of these and these loops, we have 2 of them. So inside these loops, we are going to input to read line, to read the values of our array. So let's do it. R. Instead of our rows we have I counter, and instead of our columns we have J counter. J counter equals, and as we had it also in 32 we need to parse, and here we have console readline, console dot readline. So it is the same as we had, but we had here 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, and 0, and that's all. Then we had 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2. But we don't need to do all of this to write down all of these sentences, because we have all in one. This counter iterates through 0 to 2, and this counter iterates from 0 to 3. And that's all. We have only one line inside these two loops. Okay, we inputted, we have done this. I'm sorry, where we have it. Task number 2. We have, yes, here. We have done this because when we start our program, when we run it, we can input these values. And we forgot about this line. We need to prompt the user to ask him to input these values, so we need to put it before this. Yes, so we need to put console. Let's do it quickly. Console, and just to print out this sentence. Okay, we will run our program just to see. It's not enough, it's not finished, it has not finished yet, but we will see what we have. Please enter 6 values for the matrix 2 by 3, and we can print out these to read them. These 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 elements. 2, 5, 1, 6, 7, 8. We can do it the same. 2, 5, 1. It doesn't matter. 6, 7, and 8. And it's all. Okay, so we have done this part of our task. The next thing we are going to do, we have to print out this sentence. Let's do it in our main function. After all of this, we have to print out this sentence, so we need to do it quickly. We can copy this sentence and paste it here. And then we are going to print out our elements of our array, to print them out. Not read, but print out. And we are going to use the same 4 loops, nested loop, because we need to print out all the elements. So if we are going to use all the elements, we need to use a nested loop. So let's do it. Again, we have for loop. The outer loop usually use I as a counter. I is less than 2. We can use here 2, but we can use also, if you remember, and you have to remember, you must remember, we can use r dot get length, and 0 means how many rows. It is the same. We can use 2, and we can use get length 0. It means the length of our rows. And we have to increase our counter, and the same for inner loop, we have j as a counter equals to 0, j less than, look here, we have to use the same error, get length, and we have to put here as a parameter 1. 1 means how many columns will be, how many columns. So it is the same, what we have here, the condition here is the same as the condition here, but we use another way to do it, and we have to iterate our, to increase our counter. Of course we have not 4 but int. And let's print out our values. Let's use a console, and not write line but just write, because we need to print them out in the line. First row will be inside one line, so it will be 2, 5, 1, and it is inside one and the same line. So we need to use write, then $, and in quotation and curly braces let's output the values of our array r of I and j, then we have this space, we need this space, so we are going to put it here, this space, and semicolon. And when we will print out the first line, we need to have a new line. Yes, it is this line we have in inner loop, and the second line will be in another inner loop. So we need to print new line. We are going to have it here inside the outer loop. So let's print here a new line, console, just console, write line. It's a new line. Okay, let's see what we have in our console window after we will run this program. Okay, please enter 6 values. So let's print some values, 2, 6, it doesn't matter, there are 4 or 6 of them, and we have them here. Yes, it is beautiful, it is like a matrix. We have this first line, it's 2, 6 and 3, and the second line 4, 5 and 6, because we have the matrix 2 by 3, 2 rows and 3 columns. In each row we have 3 elements. Okay, and the next and the last our task is to print out the sum of these elements. So we need to calculate the sum, the addition of these elements. When we have to do it, we have to do it again inside nested loop. But we have it, we have nested loop, we don't need another nested loop, we have it here. So let's use the sum variable for addition of these elements. So the sum variable is usually has to be set to 0 first. Yes, so let's create the sum. Let's do it integer, because it will be integer. We have integer numbers, integer elements. Let's call it sum, and equals to 0. Usually it is the first value for the sum, it is 0. And inside this loop, we are going to add to this variable every of our element. Each of our element has to be added to this variable. So we need to do it like this: sum plus equals, and each of our element r of I and j. So each of our element will be summed, will be added to this sum variable. And after all of these loops, we need to print out this value, to print it out. Let's do it like here we have in the task. So we will put console write line $, the sum equals, and instead of it we need to put our sum variable. Let's remember the values 2, 5, 1, 6, 7, 8. Okay, let's run. 2, 5, 1, 6, 7, 8. The sum equals to 29. It is correct because we have the same in our example, but we can do it with another values. But it is better to compare with an example, and we have the same result as we have in the example. So we have done this task. You have to upload only one CS file, and you have to save it, and that's all. So see you later.